Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Grav, aka Gravite, and today we have a big trade to announce between the Calgary Flames and the Montreal Canadiens involving one of the biggest trade shifts of this trade deadline in Tyler Toffoli. Now, there are a bunch of moving parts on both sides of this deal, but when it comes to this Tyler Toffoli trade, which team do I think wins this deal, the Habs or the Flames, and what are the actual trade details of this deal? Watch till the end for my complete thoughts and all the info, and make sure you subscribe to the Sportsnet YouTube channel for the best sports coverage around. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Now, the trade details to me are fascinating, but one of the most interesting parts about this deal is the backstory. This is a deal that's kind of been talked about for a while now, ever since it was pretty much made official the Habs were tanking this season. Tyler Toffoli was almost immediately starting to get linked to the Calgary Flames, and there's a lot of reasons why. First, the Flames could really use a middle six right winger, and Tyler Toffoli perfectly fits that role, which we're going to get into. But also, of course, Daryl Sutter coaching the Flames with Tyler Toffoli being his former player. That's an interesting link that could have happened, and we saw some big traction of the deal happening this week, and officially we got reporters like Elliot Friedman laying down the bombs of what this trade would actually be like. And in terms of the details, it's fascinating on every single front. Now, of course, for the Montreal Canadiens, they will be giving up Tyler Toffoli to the Calgary Flames. In exchange, the Flames will give a pretty decent haul to the Habs, in my opinion, a first-round pick, a fifth-round pick, prospect Emil Heineman, as well as Tyler Pitlick. Now, I think we can pretty much all rule out Tyler Pitlick. We all know he'll win the Hart Trophy with this deal, but besides that for the Habs, the first round pick was really the biggest part of this trade, and it was pretty obvious to see. With the Habs themselves, they're a team that's been reportedly trying to go as hard into the first round picks as humanly possible, with players like Ben Chiarot, Arturi Lehkonen likely also potentially getting those type of packages. Tyler Toffoli getting a first was an absolute must, and the Habs do get it in this deal. But you also get former Florida Panthers prospect Emil Heineman, who's been in the Flame system since the Sam Bennett trade. He's a guy that's progressed decently. I'm pretty high on him, and I feel like for the Habs, you could probably get a decent third liner out of a guy like that. He's just a solid, consistent player, and I think the Habs will like him a lot. But again, going back to that first round pick, that is what the Habs prioritize, and that's what they do get in this deal. We weren't going to see Tyler Toffoli traded without a first round pick, and that is the big piece going back. But I think with the Flames, giving up that haul isn't much of a problem, and the big reason why, in my opinion, is the term of Tyler Toffoli. He makes $4.25 million for this year and the next 2 years afterwards, and in my opinion for the Flames, that is absolutely perfect for a player that can be versatile, can play on a bunch of different lines if it needs to, can play on both special teams. To me, for the Flames, if you need a right winger, Toffoli was one of the best options available, and I think he's a slam dunk for the Flames. In terms of actual play, Tyler Toffoli's been stupendous since he's arrived in Montreal. In his first season with the Habs in 2021, he played 52 games, getting 28 goals, 16 assists for 44 points, and in the playoffs he had 14 points in 22 games as well. Now this season, with the Habs being horrible, you probably expect his point production to not be all too great, but it's still been pretty decent. In 37 games he has 9 goals, 17 assists for 26 points, and honestly, getting those type of numbers on this Habs team is pretty miraculous. Even though he hasn't been amazing, I think going on to a new team again and getting a fresh new group under him, especially a group as good as Calgary, I think will kind of rejuvenate Tyler Toffoli's overall play. And I feel like for the Flames, on the low end, you're getting a great scorer who could be versatile and could be consistent, and especially come playoff time, the Flames are a team that could desperately use that. Toffoli will be great in the playoffs, though, I think, for Calgary if they are to make it, and I think Toffoli is a big piece and a big step to making it and succeeding in the playoffs. Now, for the Habs, it's most interesting as well, because with Toffoli now being gone, they still have a bunch of other options that I thought were a lot more likely to be traded. Toffoli was the one guy that I was kind of iffy on, if he would get traded this trade deadline. We all know that Jeff Petrie, Arturi Lehkonen, those guys, Ben Chiarot, are likely going to be gone, but Tyler Toffoli was kind of that big question mark. Now with him gone, I think the whole trade landscape kind of is almost completely different from the Montreal Canadiens, because if they can trade Lehkonen and Ben Chiarot and get 2 first-round picks out of those trades potentially, you are absolutely loaded for this 2022 NHL draft. We'll see what happens, but I think especially with this Habs trade deadline, it'll be one of the most important in franchise franchise history. If they can turn this franchise around, get as many picks as possible, and truly take that next rebuilding step, it could be over a lot sooner than they would have expected, especially with this 2022 draft being pretty solid at the top end. We'll see what happens, but Montreal's in store for an extremely interesting trade deadline, and Ben Sherrod especially is one of the biggest ones of this market. Now, for me personally, I kind of go back and forth on who I think wins this trade. In my opinion, I think both teams actually go off pretty well here. The Montreal Canadiens get that first round pick, they get a solid prospect, and for the Flames to get a player that can not just be a great middle six player right now, but also in the next couple of years and be a core part of that franchise for the next few seasons. And especially for a team like Calgary that wants to build out some success and longevity, I think that is extremely important. And I do think even though Montreal got a pretty good haul here, I do think Calgary in terms of overall value could do very well with this trade. I think Toffoli is going to be great if the Flames do make the playoffs, and I think he'll be great in helping the Flames get to that position. They've already been playing pretty well since they've come back from the All-Star game, but I feel like with Tyler Toffoli, it's going to elevate that play even more. I think this was a great trade though, and it's good to see the trade market finally starting and finally getting underway. But that'll be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Let me know in the comments down below, who do you guys think wins this trade, the Calgary Flames or the Montreal Canadiens? Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you, of course, share this video with your friends, get the trade details out there, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.